What up, guys? What up? What up? I am Blue. Hopefully, guys, are doing good today. And today's video is part of a multi-part series video of my SharePoint, video of doing different things with SharePoint, right? Uploading, downloading lists, uploading large files, things of that nature, right? So this is, I believe, going to be part 5. We're going to be talking about how do we download the latest file in a SharePoint folder, right? So you have a folder. That folder could have 100 files. Maybe, for example, you have a daily sales file being dropped in there, right? So every day there's a new file. But let's say we want to download the latest file, whatever the latest file happens to be. So that's what we're going to work on today. We're going to build a function to download the latest file. But before we get started, guys, if you could hit that like button, give me a follow. I appreciate it. I mean, a lot of love, a lot of support. Again, hit that like button, guys. All right, guys, let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is let's go to our Office 365 API, and we're gonna create, I'll make it a little bit bigger just to make sure that y'all can see it good on your side. We are going to create a new function. And this new function we are going to call download, what I call it, download latest file, right? And the only argument that this is going to take is going to be the folder name. Again, the purpose of this is because we don't know what the latest file is. We don't know the name. Right, so it's not like this function over here where we need to pass in the name. We don't know what the name is. So because we don't know what the name, we just need to provide the folder of which file that we want to download, right? The latest file from. So in here, we're going to end up importing in. You know what? Let's do this out here. So let me go ahead and bring in the date time method. Bring that bad boy in. All right, cool. So one of the things that we're gonna do, and I'll explain to you why, but we need to create a since there's no true way to be able to download the latest file from SharePoint. Like, we cannot call the API and say, hey, give me the latest file. That's not how that actually works. So what we're going to end up doing, we're going to be pulling some metadata of that folder in SharePoint. And the metadata is going to include like file name and also time, like late, what is it called? I think it's called like last modified date or something like that. But either way, those are two properties that we could access, right, as we get a list of all the files, and from there we're going to iterate over everything, and we'll be able to determine the file name and also when it will last modify, like the newest date. What we're going to do, we're going to end up putting that into a dictionary, and then once we do that, we're going to do a sort, and as we sort it, we're going to order by time, and then from there we'll be able to get what is the newest file of the list of files. So again, there's not a true way to do it through the API, but we're gonna download the metadata, the list details of the folder. We're not downloading the objects, like the actual content. We're just downloading the metadata within the folder, which would give us, again, file name, that kind of stuff, right? Modified, shareable links, properties of every file. We're gonna put that into a dictionary, sort it, and then ultimately get the first index of it, which would be the newest file. So that's kind of what we're doing here. But because we're getting text values back, and like the date value, it's in the text format, we need to convert that to a date object. So that's where I'm specifying my format here. Let me call it date format, right? So in this case, it would be the year, M for months, the months, D for date, T, and then we would have our time, %H, then it would be %M, and then it would be what is it, percent s for second, and then of course capital Z at the end. That is a format. So again, I know this format because when I did my testing, I printed it out and took a look at it. It's in that format. So I need to specify the format that matches the string that we're going to be getting. That's ultimately what I'm doing here. The next thing I'm going to do is I need to get a list of all the files in that SharePoint folder. So I do have this function over here that does that. So I'm going to end up calling that. I'm going to assign it to an object called file list, and then ultimately I would call that get files list function. And then of course I'm going to provide my file name, my folder name, right? Because that's one of the arguments for folder name. Ultimately, this is going to give me back, you know, a list of all the files and of course all the properties associated with those files. Let me go ahead and create this empty dictionary. That's where we're going to be populating our file name and then also our date into that dictionary. And then now let's go ahead and we're going to do an iteration, right? So in this case, it would be file list. Again, this guy we're going to iterate over. Let me bring it up. The first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to call the date time object. And this is where I'm going to call my date time the strip time. I think, yeah, it is this one. Because what we're doing here is we're going to be pretty much specify the string, right? In this case, it's file, and one of the properties inside of it is called time last modified, and then I'm gonna specify the format. So in this case, it would be date format. So again, we're providing the string and ultimately providing the format, which is up here. And what that's going to do is going to give it back a date time object, a date time Python object, right? So keep that in mind. The next thing, we need to now append all of these values, the file name and the object, to the dictionary. So let's go ahead and do that as well. I'm gonna call file dictionary, and then my key is gonna be file.name, because again, that's the property. There's a property in there called name, which is the file name. And then ultimately I'm gonna assign my date time object. That would be my value, right? My file name is my key, date time is my value. Once I'm done with that, now we're gonna have to sort. So they just kind of sort dictionary object to get the latest file. So that's pretty much what we're going to be doing next, right? So in this case, I'm going to call this file dictionary sorted. So what I'm doing here, I'm sorting it out first, right? So this would be my key value for key comma value in sorted. Then in here I'm going to specify my file dictionary dot items, okay, comma, my key would be, it would be my lambda. We're going to apply a function which would be item index 1, which is, again, this is my value, comma, and then it would be reverse equals true, because I want to reverse it as well. So pretty much this is going to give us a sorted dictionary, and we're sorting it by the date and time, because remember my value here, my date time object, which is my date and time, this is the format, that's my value, and that's what I'm doing here. We're sorting it in reverse order, and it will give us a new dictionary where the latest date time would be the first index 0. That's pretty much what's happening here. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do here is I want to get the latest file, and the way to do that is I'm going to apply the next again. So when you apply next, this is getting the next value of your iteration, like your dictionary or your list. And here I'm gonna call the iterate as well, and then I'm passing in my file dictionary sort. And ultimately what this is going to give me back is going to be back my value, the latest value of my sorted dictionary, right? So just kind of keep that in mind. And then finally, I need to download my contents. So just like the way we do up here on top, right? When we call this download file, the end result is give us back the file contents, of what we're trying to download, which is this file in this folder. Well, we're going to do the same thing here. So in order to do that, I'm going to call this context equals download file, and it's going to take in 2 arguments, right? The latest file name, which is again this guy here, and then also I need to provide the folder, which would be my argument that's coming from up here. This is going to give me back same thing, this my file contents, right? And then I could do a return, and I'm returning back 2 values back, because I don't know what the latest file number is, file name is. Over here I do, because I provided it. Down here I don't know what it is. So I do want to return back the latest file name. That's pretty much what it is, right? I probably should have made the latest file name, because that's really what it is. So latest file name, and then it would be my contents. It's going to get returned back. And that's it, guys. That's all. We're done here with this this function, which is download latest file. The next thing that we're going to do is let's create a new file. We're going to call this download latest file.py. This is just more of a sample, just kind of test it out and see it in action, right? So let's go ahead and bring in from Office365 API import SharePoint, import system, and then from passlib import purepass. Okay, so we're going to have 2 arguments. So argument number 1 would be SharePoint folder name. So we're going to call this folder name, and this would be index 1, because remember, index 0 is your actual Python file, and then anything after that, it could be your additional arguments. Argument 2 is going to be location or remote folder destination. Oops. And here we're gonna bring in folder. We're gonna call this folder dest. This is ultimately going to be where do you want to save this file to, right? We're downloading the file where you want to save it to. So we're downloading the latest file. We want to save it somewhere, right? In this case, it'll be somewhere locally, but it could be a remote location as well. All right, guys. So the first function that we're going to create here is going to be our save file function. So let's go ahead and write that up. It will be save file. This is going to take in 3 arguments. So it'll be the file name, the file object, and then also the folder destination, where we're going to save it to. The next thing is we need to provide the file directory path. So again, this is like the full path on the root path and the file name. Pretty much, we're just concatenating that together, right? So it'll be our folder destination and file name. Next, we're going to end up creating the object, right, on what we're going to save. So this is what we're going to provide our file directory path. It's going to be a write binary, and then we're going to call this F for file. And then last, we're going to do a file write, and then of course we're going to write the object, which is one of our parameters over here, right? We're writing that. So this pretty much wraps up our save file function. All right, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create another function, and this one is going to be called get latest file. And this is going to take two arguments. It will be folder, and then it will be folder destination, right? Folder being the SharePoint folder, folder destination. Oops, let me fix this. Folder destination being where you want to save it to. Okay. So let's, what we're going to end up doing here, we're going to call our SharePoint class. And then we're going to call our new function that we created, which is the download latest file. This is going to end up taking one argument, which would be folder, right? Again, SharePoint folder. That's what this is. Now, it is returning back, if we take a look at it, it is returning back two values, the file name and the contents. So what we're going to do here is we're going to call this file name, because that's the first value, and then contents. That's what we're going to get back. So based on those values that we get back, now we could call the save file function. And again, we're going to pass in file name. We're going to pass in the file object, which is our content. And then we're going to pass in the folder destination, again, which is this argument here. This is to tell it where we want to save it to, pretty much. And that is it, guys. Next, let's just do a add some logic where once this file runs, we want it to execute this code here in line 20, which would be get latest file, and then ultimately we're passing in the two arguments that we're going to provide, which is folder name and then folder destination, right, which is these two arguments up here we're going to pass in down here. So now we go ahead, and if I run this, which is again, we're going to execute this file, download latest file. We're passing our first argument, which is data 2022 sales. So let's take a look at that. If I look at the data 2022 sales folder, my newest file in here is this guy right here, this loan file. So that's the file that should be downloaded. Then I'm going to save it in this folder. Now let's take a look at the folder. Right now it's empty. So when I run it, it should save into that folder. So let's run it. Let's see what we get. All right. So boom, there you go. It downloaded the latest file, which is awesome, because that's what we wanted, man. That's exactly what we wanted. We want to be able to access a folder and download the latest file. So this did exactly what we expected, and it's all wrapped up in this function that we created called download latest file. So these files that I have here, this code, this is strictly for a sample. It's an example on how to use it, and you could run it right out the box and start using it. You could use it in your projects. You don't have to use the code that I have here. I know I got a message from one of the viewers like, yeah, your examples are not over complicated, but they're too much. And he's right. I mean, I could have kept it way more simpler to ultimately just to show you an example, but I tried to build something that was a little bit more than that, So for the people that wanted like just to take a file as is and literally just run it like the way I did, right? Pass in arguments, run it, and you're good to go. Try to keep it as simple as possible for those people. For the people that have different ways to use it, perfectly understand. All you need to do is just call this class and use it whatever way that fits best for you. I am going to create a folder, and I'm going to call this examples. And then of course I'm going to just move all of these files in here into this new folder. So it'll make it a little bit cleaner. And once I'm going to push this code over to my GitHub account, so you can find the source code there, and you'll see a folder with all the examples in here. Again, guys, this was a request from a viewer. They asked, hey, can you help me out? How can we download the latest file in a SharePoint folder? So hopefully this helps you out. This kind of solved that issue. Again, guys, if you need any help, if you have any questions, you could email me at contact@imlu.net, or just leave a comment, and when I read my comments, I'll add your request to the list of requests that I've been getting. Can't guarantee, can't promise I will get to all requests, because I have been getting more and more, but nevertheless, guys, I will be making videos of your requests. Again, appreciate it. Hit that like button, give me a follow, and peace.